there may be one way in which you touch the customer that is so meaningful to the customer that they'll endure everything else about you that they don't like just to get that one experience from you. And other people, it's, I'm more or less like the whole experience, and that's why I'm loyal to you. The key is to be able to communicate what those possibilities are to your staff so that you can then create a reaction in the customer. I put this McDonald's slide up there. This is the head of McDonald's at one point, and his statement was, "We love to see you smile." McDonald's is working with people who are paid minimum wage pretty much around the world, I believe. But as much as people like to attack McDonald's, really it's a consistent experience. It's a reinforced experience. You're not going to get sick eating your food there. The restrooms are clean. The prices are reasonable. And they smile at you more or less. Most of the time they smile at you. And chances are, if they're not smiling at you, it's a McDonald's that's owned by somebody not McDonald's.
Okay. So McDonald's is really about, creating an expectation and then meeting that expectation, isn't it? You know what you're going to get when you go in. You know you're not going to get the best hamburger in the world, but you know what it's going to be. And people go there because McDonald's has set that expectation. They built a brand around it, and it's consistent, and you know what you're going to get.
Oh, yeah. And McDonald's French fries in Paris are the same as McDonald's French fries in Munich, as in Tokyo, as in Los Angeles, in New York, and Moscow, and St. Petersburg.
Right. Yeah. Here's another example that, and this is on the sales side that people might be able to. It's two German brands, Mercedes and BMW. Mercedes is about the experience of luxury for the passenger. Mercedes is not really the car. It's about driving. The car that's about BMW, which is about the ultimate driving machine. And if you go into a dealership for Mercedes as compared to BMW, you're probably going to have a different experience. They're pretty good at teaching their people about this. The Mercedes dealership, generally the salespeople are a little bit more mature, a little bit more, let's say, more middle-aged to getting a little bit older, generally dressed in some kind of a suit, nice presentation. They come over, they open the car door, they let you smell the leather seats, they let you touch the leather, and when they take you, when you do your test drive, if they possibly can, they'll put themselves in the position of being the driver, because this is about the experience of being driven around in a luxury car. Now, BMW is quite different. It's about the driving experience, and their salespeople are typically a little bit younger, a little bit edgier. They come in, first thing they do is they pop the hood, they let you see what's under the, they let you see the engine, which really is meaningless in today's world because these car engines are all, they're computers. They're, you can't fiddle with them at all the way we used to be able to reach under the hood and make something work again. It just doesn't work that way anymore. And they don't show you the trunk. Mercedes people will show you the boot or the trunk of the car. And with the BMW, they'll toss you the keys because they want you to have the experience of being driven. It's about driving this high-performance vehicle. Very different presentations of a brand. They're both in the luxury car space. Mercedes buyers typically tend not to be BMW buyers and vice versa. And to the degree that these two vehicles are able to maintain that clear position of differentiation, they remain strong brands. Now, if BMW starts to go over to the, I'll drive you around in this car and you'll have a nice, and people will go, wow, look at that, they're driving a BMW. Ooh, they must have a lot of money. They actually will end up impacting their brand, I think, in a negative way. But they are a classic case of two brands that are working in the same space, but they've got different groups of buyers in this same space, and they reinforce to those buyers.
We are about up with our hour, and I'm going to give you a question that I think is going to perhaps be the challenging question of the evening. And you can tell me if my analogy is incorrect to begin with or whatever. But I view service as undergoing an evolution. In the very beginning of the industrial age, service was, well, you know, what's service? It's what you do with your customer to get the shipment out, and if there's a problem, you fix it. Then people woke up to the idea of that, well, you know, you can't just give any old service if you want to be a best-in-class organization. You actually have to start focusing on providing a certain level and quality, predictable quality of service. And I see the branded service as a step in that evolution. And my question to you is, it might be a little too early in the game, but what do you see as the next evolutionary step after branded service, or do you see one?
You know, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, if you just take a look at, and I think there's several different ways of phrasing this, but, you know, as fixing problems, as friendly, smiling, helpful service, and now as branded service. That's a pretty good way to describe some of the evolution with service. But as we've moved to branded service, the fixing of the problems and the being friendly and smiling and helpful, likable, is all important part of branded service as well. It's just that it's you know, it's a bit more precise as to what represents your brand. Now, if I were to say what the next step is going to be, I have a feeling that it's going to be more of how we can integrate the entire organization. And this is really where sales comes in as well. We, for too long, separated out, I believe, service and sales. And we need to start looking at these things as one unit. And we need to bring sales into, you know, it's not just about selling product and then pass the problem over to service. Service has gotten pretty good at handling some of those problems. The salesperson promised that this would happen, and the service person knows that that's not even a possibility. Or the salesperson promises this, and then manufacturing has to deliver, and manufacturing knows that they can't deliver. There's got to be some way that service and sales integrate the entire organization. And I really do see it as a lens through which we can look at everything that we do inside the organization. I think that's probably the next step. It's a much more integrated way. Because after all, the customers have the experience of the entire company. That's what they're being sold. They're not being sold one little piece of the company. They're being sold the entire company. If they really want to have a branded experience, it's got to be the entire organization. So I think that's where it's going to go.
Well, it makes sense to me. It certainly does. All right. So I guess we're at our hour. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to take, shall we say, take my life in my hands, and I'm going to unmute everybody. And if we might get a lot of echo, who knows what it's going to sound like. But I want to take this opportunity and allow those who have the chance to please ask any questions you might have of Janelle or Bob or Audra, and get it off your chest. So the unmute button is going to be hit right now, and get ready for it. Okay, everyone can talk. Any questions?
Hi, this is Steve.
Hello, Steve.
And I caught not the whole thing, but the second half. But my question would be how we're an outsourced call center, third-party outsourced call center. So I'm interested in your take on how brands can still communicate their brand personality through a third party.
You know?
Well, I think it's possible to do that. I think it's possible to do that. And Steve, I'm acquainted with your business, and I know this is what you are aiming for. So you're representing a whole series of brands, and then you have people who sit in one location and they represent, I don't know, 50, 60 brands, however many brands you're representing. But you know what you're doing, I think, is what an organization has to do internally. It just so happens, in your case, to be outsourced, but it means becoming acquainted with that brand. If you're selling Vera Wang, that you're a branded Vera Wang person. But if you're selling Crate and Barrel, that's a whole different experience.